Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has issued a direct order to the military charging them to crush the terrorists. A bold directive amidst the wave of kidnappers, banditry and insurgent attacks that have left many Nigerians feeling vulnerable and abandoned.
The president reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to the welfare and operational capacity of the Nigerian Armed Forces, saying his administration will continue investing in modern equipment, intelligence and human capital to ensure officers and personnel of the military are well armed. Speaking at the grand finale of the Nigerian Army Day celebration at Murtala Mohammed Square, Kaduna over the weekend, President Tinubu said the nation owed it as a duty to keep equipping and empowering those who defend it. Right, we'll have a clip that we'll play for you much later, but let's get into the conversation. And joining us for this discussion is Associate Professor, Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ilorin, Bemisola Animashaun. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right.
Today.
What's different? This isn't the first time we've heard presidents, not just with President Tinubu, giving marching orders to crush the terrorists, to ensure they provide security to Nigeria. These marching orders, how effective would you say they are? And is there any difference in this particular marching order that has been given?
Well, we must not fail to put this particular directive in specific context, given the occasion where the marching order or the encouragement, as I would prefer to call it, was given. Yeah, it was timely and expected that, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and at this particular time, given what the country is experiencing, given what some parts of the country are experiencing, this is the most important thing to do, to encourage, to motivate, our armed forces, because they are actually doing a lot. Given the fact, again, that we should remember that we are involved in what we call an asymmetric warfare, which, makes it very difficult. And in an asymmetric warfare, there's no defined battle. Everywhere can be a battleground, given the nature of the opponents or the forces we are up against. So yes, it may sound like a cliche, but again, we should not forget that for whom the message was intended primarily, it is actually, expected and timely, because yes, we've had some setbacks, but we should also not forget the fact that we've also made some progress in this regard. So yes, a timely encouragement, which I'm sure will resonate strongly with the intended primary audience of the message.
Now, Dr. Animashaun, you believe that it's timely and it would resonate, but the military hierarchy, the high command, from the NSA to the service chiefs and the Chief of Defense Staff, do understand their job description. They understand why they were appointed in the first place, and I don't think they need a directive or marching order from Mr. President to carry out their constitutional duties. Having said that, it's the military. You also pointed out in your opening analysis that this is a sort of asymmetrical warfare. Is the military adequately equipped, funded, and motivated to execute this directive? Because if they are, why are we seeing pockets of every other week, there's pockets of violence and attacks here, and with hardly any perpetrators held responsible for this dastardly act?
Yeah, we must not forget the fact that, within the context of an asymmetric warfare, two things are crucial, one of which you have mentioned, and that is what we call the balance of will, it's one thing to have the balance of power in your, in your advantage, as we have in this particular case, because we are better, armed and better, we have better facilities, better training and all that. But the will, because in this particular case, you are up against forces who are, as you will say, fighting to die, and while we are fighting to live, So yes, and it is because of this that you must not, you can't over-motivate. You cannot over-encourage. And for us to have a balanced analysis, we must look at what would have been and what has been. So if, yes, we record pockets of setbacks, we should also not forget the fact that these same forces have been able to repel many attacks. So for us to have a fair balance without sounding patronizing, we must put all of this in context. That is, what has been and what will have been. Yes, it will not be what we desire, but within the context of what is happening within the Sahel and, our neighborhood, across the sub-region. Yes, this is not where we want to be, but things will have been worse. And that is why, again, the president giving a charge, the president giving a directive, I would not like to call it a directive. It's just like, a coach on the sideline motivating his players to do more. That does not mean they are not sleeping, they are not slothful, they are not indolent. But of course, we want them to do more. And as I said earlier on, we are up against people fighting to die while we are fighting to live. So, and for them, every single attack, every missile thrown, every IED blown up makes the headline. And we should also not forget the fact that these are forces that are adept in making use of disinformation. So for them, everything is news. Every headline, every action is primarily intended to weaken the confidence of the public in the capacity of the Nigerian state to protect, even when that capacity is there. So that is how I am looking at.
I think we lost connection with Dr. Adni Marchand. We should
I think
we should reconnect with him.
A very clear point that the statement made by the president is a statement that
encouragement
is
of some
meant
sorts.
to, motivate and encourage the Nigerian military and other security forces. But let's not also forget that in 2022, especially during the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, there were countless number of times where he had also charged the Nigerian military forces to go out there and ensure that they bring an end to terrorism. Many occasions, statements like that were made. So it's right that, you threw the question to him that how long are we going to hear this? Is this going to be any different from what we've heard before?
And is it, the private sector, our MD doesn't call us every morning to say, guys, I'm giving you the matching order, go and have a great show. Do your job.
That's
have
the
a
angle.
nice show.
That's the angle.
I don't think
another area to look at
relevant.
would be, of course, the president's talking about his unwavering commitment to the welfare and operational capacity of the Nigerian armed forces. If you look at our budget, a number of times, when you look at the numbers, defense always cuts the major part of the budget. So the question has come up over and over again. Is it basically poor funding, or is it a challenge with how that fund is being disbursed?
Manpower, and then also strategy and how they plan to tackle the issues of banditry. By the way, I'm sure a lot of our viewers noticed in the background, the videos that were playing, it was from Nigerian Army Day celebrations in Kaduna, and New Central was fully on ground, and we got to speak to the Chief of Army Staff and also see highlights of what the Nigerian Army had in display. You're wondering, with all this equipment on display, how come we still get issues of insecurity and banditry all over the country. But like the government handlers have said, they're on top of the situation, and it should be a thing of the past, hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, so while we understand the charges being given in terms of charging the security forces, we also want to understand that Nigerians as a whole are expecting to see results equally from what is being said. But then again, I think we do really have some network connectivity issues, trying to ensure that we get our guest to join us back again. Okay, he's back. All right, thanks for making it back. Thanks for beating the odds, if we put it that way. My question to you basically is just that recent times we've seen a case of let me use the word demotivation, where some of the military personnel, some of the soldiers, the police officers have spoken deeply about how their remuneration packages are not indeed anything to write home about. So if the president is giving these charges, telling them to go out there and ensure that they conquer, they bring an end to terrorism, do you think it's also imperative that the presidency also looks at the take-home of these security operatives?
And just to follow up with my colleague's question, the Nigerian army only recently increased the daily feeding allowance from soldiers from 1,000 naira to 3,000 naira per day.
Well, we should also, can I come in?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. We should not forget the fact that before the coming on board of this administration, we used to have many instances of soldiers who would go on, social media. And we remember the case of then General Adeniyi, whose video went viral. So if this government has increased the daily allowance of soldiers, by 100%, I think, yes, as one of you there said it, yes, it's important we acknowledge that. But the question is, we can always do better, and I think in this regard, yes, there's a budget, and I don't think the president can just by fiat, much as probably he would have wanted maybe a soldier to have 10,000 naira or even 20K, but we all know that all of these things have to follow bureaucratic procedures. So yes, I don't see demotivation here, seriously speaking, because if they are demotivated, things will have really gone awry. But they are seriously contending with these forces. And as I said earlier on, in doing any analysis, we should look at, the gains, the pros and cons, and not just doing a one-eyed view of events. Yes, right. Grants have been lost. Grants have also been recovered. And when you talk of motivation, I think I see more of incremental motivation than demotivation.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us. It's been a very interesting conversation. We look forward to have you again, hopefully to dissect some of the strides that the military and the security operatives have made on ground. Thanks for your time. Thank you.